Have you guys ever heard of the phrase, don't cry over spilled milk? I spilled my milk all over my bed today, and I definitely cried. You can't always win. So I did spill my milk, like I said in my video earlier, and I cried and cried and cried. Josh helped me clean the sheets and everything, but I was so excited to eat my brownie. So anyway, you can't really win. That's okay. So let's talk about the pregnancy story. So Josh and I found out that we were pregnant in March. However, according to my Flow app, which I absolutely love, I was already about 6 to 7 weeks pregnant when we found out, which is crazy. The reason for that is that I am usually very irregular when it comes to my period. Just to preface, if lady things make you feel uncomfortable, I will be talking about all things boobs, periods, vaginas, you name it. If it makes you uncomfortable, you have been warned. So the night that we found out we were pregnant, Josh and I were actually watching a show called Ink Masters, and I started to feel really, really queasy, and there was just an instinctual gut feeling that something was up and something was different in my body. So as a joke, I said to Josh, we should just get a pregnancy test tonight and just see, like, maybe, you know, there's a possibility that we're already pregnant. We both laughed it off, so we decided, all right, actually, why not? Let's do it. So we went in our PJs to Woolies and we picked up a clear blue pregnancy test. When we got home, I initially thought, oh, it's usually better to take a test in the morning from what I had read, but I couldn't wait, so I took the test. Josh was still in the living room watching the show, and I went to the bathroom, obviously, and waited 2 minutes. So it was the longest 2 minutes of my life, but surely enough, it was positive, and I was shocked, blown away. I was speechless. I was like all these things and all these different emotions because obviously it's our first baby and we were just talking about starting to try. So, you know, we had become a little bit more comfortable and less intentional, and we thought, you know what, if the Lord allows it, we would love to fall pregnant in July or in November, which is very funny because, side note, our baby is due in November. So it's funny how things happen like that. But yeah, so I ended up going to the living room with all of my feelings and utter disbelief. And I didn't know how to tell Josh, so I just like stuck my head out and I stuck the pregnancy test out and I just went like this. And then Josh was like, what does it say? And I was like, yep. And he was like, what? And I was like, yeah. I was like, we're pregnant. And he was like, oh, well, that's good news. And so then we hugged each other, had a good cry. We sat down. We actually finished the show and we were both kind of sitting there like, whoa, like we're about to be parents. And we talked about it. We just, you know, firstly, we were really excited and we thanked God about it. And secondly, we were kind of scared. We're like, whoa, like this is so awesome that it's happening a little bit earlier than we had initially thought. But this is what we wanted for our family this year anyway. And so it just meant, practically speaking, that we needed to think about the things that were going to set our family and our baby up for a win. I can talk about that a little bit later. So we decided that we wanted to tell my family in the morning. So we found out Saturday night and we called my family Sunday morning and let my parents know that we are expecting a baby, and they were so excited, and it was very emotional, really beautiful, a little bit surreal. With my husband's family, we ended up telling them that afternoon, so they came over for brunch and we told them, so that was very exciting. And the reason why we told them right away was because we have a really good relationship with both of our parents. Both of our parents tend to be on kind of like the same page when it comes to certain things, and we just knew that they were going to support us and cover us in prayer and just love on us during this time. So that was really awesome to actually have that support really, really early on, because I will tell you that the first trimester is a little bit isolating because you want to keep that information to yourself, or at least I did. I wanted to keep that information to myself as long as I could because I wanted to give myself room to breathe, room to understand what was happening in my body and in my mind. And so obviously with my emotions, yeah, there's just like a whole world that you are welcomed into when you fall pregnant that I am learning about. And I'm sure you guys are too. So if you're pregnant, you probably know what I mean. If you're a mom, you know what I'm saying. And for some of you guys, if this isn't your journey yet, that is completely fine. I want to welcome you into this journey of mine, and hopefully this is helpful to you in the future. Josh and I initially did not want to post about our baby journey online for several reasons, but the main one was that we really wanted to just be present in the moment, and we wanted to have a time together to process it and to really, yeah, just like savor this first trimester. And we did. It was actually so beautiful. And no judgment if you post about your baby or if you have baby announcements, gender reveals. I love seeing all of that stuff. I think it's beautiful, but it's just not for us. That is fine. No judgment. So we ended up posting about our pregnancy, I want to say I'm trying to remember, from 18 to 21 weeks, around there. And so we kind of decided to cave in a bit. My family isn't here, so I think there's another level of wanting to include everyone. We received so much love and so much support, and we continue to, so we feel very, very blessed. So good. So I experienced something very similar to period symptoms. I felt like there was some cramping going on, and I thought, okay, for sure, I'm about to get my period and she's just a bit late. But yeah, so I cramped for about 2 days and nothing happened. So I was like, this is interesting. So I ended up booking an appointment with my GP just to get things checked out. And this was prior to finding out that I was pregnant. So what I later learned from my GP and from my Flow app is that this could have been implantation cramping. So implantation cramping, from what I know, I'm not a doctor, but from what I've searched, is that it's basically the cramping that you feel when implantation happens. But everyone feels this differently. Some people don't get cramps, some people get spotting. Like I said, everyone's very different. So for me, it was more the cramping. I never got the spotting. The next thing that I felt was very sore boobs. And again, I think this is why I didn't take a pregnancy test earlier, was because I just thought, I'm getting all these symptoms, they feel prolonged. I think maybe my cycle is changing. So I naturally have very low levels of hemoglobin in my blood, which means that I naturally err on the side of iron deficiency. And so having an irregular period is pretty normal for me. It changes all the time. So I thought, okay, surely this is just what's happening. So on top of the mild cramping that went away after 2 days and the sore chest, which I can tell you that has not gone away for me. I'm in my 3rd trimester and my 1st and 2nd weren't any different with my chest. Obviously, you're getting ready to feed a baby, which, side note, not everyone can breastfeed, and I'm super aware of that. I'm praying that I can, but I'm just trying to set myself up for a win just in case I can't either. So the most common and like stereotypical pregnancy symptom that people talk about is nausea and vomiting. I personally did not experience that until 11 weeks of pregnancy. I thought I had gotten away with it. I thought, oh my gosh, this is awesome. I just feel, these symptoms, but not the vomiting, because I feel like I'm okay with anything but nausea and vomiting. It is the worst. So when the nausea and vomit started around 11 weeks, it was honestly the worst thing of my life. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I did not enjoy that at all. For me, it was sporadic. It wasn't every morning and it wasn't every afternoon. Like, it would just come and go as it pleased. And I was not happy with that. But I will say that there's certain things that I did that helped me with the nausea and with the vomiting. There was some mornings where I would wake up and it was just like straight to the bathroom. Like literally you couldn't even think about it. You would just feel it. And so that would actually wake me up some mornings. What I started doing was I started popping a water bottle next to my bed and some saltine crackers. Just something to nibble on first thing in the morning so that you don't wake up with an empty stomach, because I find that being on an empty stomach actually really worsens that feeling. Another thing that really helped was drinking ginger ale or ginger tea. So the ginger ale for me was really, really helpful because it is naturally meant to help with motion sickness. And what I would do is I would have ginger ale at home, and then I would buy some like individual little bottles for work. And so when I would start feeling a little bit queasy before it was time to have lunch, I would drink some ginger ale, and I would always have some saltines in my desk, and that was very helpful. Another thing that really, really helped was SEABANDS. So let me go grab those. They look like this. They're SEABANDS, but obviously it's meant to help with motion sickness. I pop these guys on like this, and I would wear them for a few hours into my workday actually. But anytime I was driving, anytime I was in someone else's car, which side note, I could not do it. I had to drive myself to and from everywhere because if not, I would straight up vomit. It was, I know, TMI and kind of disgusting, but that's just my story and that's what happened. But that was kind of like my nausea, motion sickness hack, was the ginger, the crackers, and the SEABANDS. Oh, and another thing as well was there is a brand that makes ginger gummy bears. Oh my gosh, you can get them at any pharmacy. And like here in Australia, you can get them basically anywhere. Priceline, Chemist Warehouse, any chemist. That was just like my survival packet, was anything ginger, anything that would help, you know, nibble, that I could nibble on during the day, and lots of water. I found that my mouth was actually really, really dry during my first trimester. Being hydrated is obviously naturally important, but when you're making a baby, you need lots of water. You've got to stay hydrated. My third symptom was fatigue. Okay, so I'm normally a sleepy girl, but when I fell pregnant, something just inside of me like just turned off. There was a sense of like no energy. Like I said, I was trying to learn my new job, which I'm still working at now, but at that time it was so new. I work in the health and disability sector. There's a lot that you have to learn, and it's not naturally an easy job. So I just wanted to do my absolute best and give my job everything that I had, which was like this much. But we got there. So I would get off work at about 4:35 sometimes, and I would get home, I would have a snack, and I would drink lots and lots of water because I was so thirsty. Yeah, I would basically fall asleep at around like 6 some days, and then I would wake up the next day at like 7. It was really intense. And at that time with my friends as well, we would do like dinners, or we would try to hang out for a walk or something, and I just could, like, physically couldn't. Like there was just this like lack of energy, and I think I really beat myself up for it because I thought in a way that it was my fault, like maybe I hadn't taken care of my iron enough, or maybe I just wasn't trying hard enough. But the reality of things is that when you first fall pregnant, there's so much happening in your body that I think it's really important to give yourself grace and be kind to yourself. And I think I learned that a little bit later, but it was definitely very new for me and very different. Thankfully, my friends are lovely, and some of them have had babies before, so there was this like mutual understanding. And even those that didn't have babies were just like, girl, like rest, that's so fine. And so I was really thankful for that like acceptance and that understanding. So speaking of change in your body, I think with my mental and emotional health, I was okay. I just felt like there was a lot of hormones. Obviously, because you're creating a baby, your hormones go up, you start creating a lot more different things, and so that does affect your emotions. For me, there was just like this sense of excitement and then sometimes it would turn into like a little bit of anxiety. So for me, I just really didn't want to do anything that would mess up the process of making this baby. I think like this is probably really normal. I've heard a lot of my friends feel like this, so maybe you feel like this too. But I just felt like I needed to do a really good job at like creating this baby and taking care of my body. And sometimes I think that can be really helpful, and other times, like without having that balance, causes a lot of anxiety. And so there was nights where I would just wake up like overthinking my pregnancy and thinking like, oh my gosh, like I ate this, is that gonna mess this little person up? Or, oh, I like drank this before I found out I was pregnant, like is that gonna mess it up? And I just think having those like overthinking moments was not helpful. Like it just caused too much anxiety, too much like unnecessary anxiety. And so what for me was really helpful is that I have been seeing a therapist for almost a year now, and for no like intense, insane reason whatsoever. I just really believe that taking care of your mental health is really important, and it can look like many different ways. And for me, it has looked like going to a therapist, and I love it. I have learned so much about myself and so much about my own coping mechanisms. And so during pregnancy, during my first trimester, that was a massive game changer, because you have all of these feelings that you feel so strongly, and just having that unbiased person to listen and to ask you questions so you can reflect on things, I think is priceless, really. And also to add on top of that, my husband and I do believe in God, so we carry faith, and it really helped to pray over those things. And if you're not a Christian, you're still welcome. It's like, I don't ever want you to feel like I'm about to preach to you or anything like that, but a part of my story is really giving those things to God and really learning to trust God in that process, and trust my doctors and trust my therapist and the whole team. It takes a village. And so yeah, I think that first trimester was a wild ride, and I'm also so thankful that I had friends who have done this journey before I have, who I could really rely on for questions or for like just venting, because having someone just acknowledge that those feelings are okay is really helpful. And you might be feeling like this, you might still be feeling anxious, and you know, you're a little bit ahead of the journey beyond your first trimester, but I want to say that you're probably doing a really good job, and not to let the anxiety get the best of you. If you are interested in having a second trimester recap video, let me know. There's a few tips and tricks that have helped me along the way. And so thank you guys so much for watching this. I hope it was helpful. I hope it was relatable, and I will see you guys next week.